this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Roccat Syn Max Air. This is a wireless headset from Roccat, and a premium flagship one with its own charging base station that you can see here. Really plush, comfortable ear cushions and a lot more. I'm using the microphone for the voiceover for this video so you can get an idea of what that sounds like. And we'll talk more about that and other things as we go into this, because it comes with a number of different settings that you can dive into in the Roccat Swarm software to tweak the sound. There are a number of different highlights out of the box though that include 2.4 GHz wireless and Bluetooth connectivity, which means that you can have dual connection options. So basically you can have audio from your phone and from your PC at the same time. This also works with PS5, PS4 and Nintendo Switch, so it gives you lots of different connectivity options and has some other things of interest. You'll see that it has a detachable microphone, more on that in a minute. And this is very similar to the previous Syn headset that I looked at, although it does have a difference which makes it more comfortable, and I want to talk about that in a bit more depth later on, as well as things like the Superhuman Hearing sounds, gain boosts, and the other important settings that you can change within the software, which I'll show you later. Now, as I said, it comes with its own charging base station, which you can see here, which actually has two connections on it as well, which I'll talk about a bit later on. So that gives you some other things of intrigue with this device, because it's dockable. So when you need to charge it up, you can just drop it onto that charging station. But that also provides the signal for the connection to the headset to give you a good connection to your PC or your console, and to deliver a good quality experience. Now, it also has immersive 3D audio with 50mm drivers, and that is insane, by the way. I'll talk a bit more about that later on, and just how loud this headset gets. You'll also see that it has two USB cables, and the reason for this is you can plug it into your computer, and then also you can plug the base station into the mains, so that you can ensure that it charges even if your PC is not passing out power when it's turned off, for example. You also have an adapter to turn USB-C into USB-A if you need it, and the detachable microphone. So there's quite a bit included in the box. What you will notice is a lack of 3.5mm connection. So it's perhaps not as flexible as some other wireless headsets that give you a 3.5 option. For example, the Nova Pro Wireless or the Astro A50, which allow you to connect up 3.5mm connection to either the headset or the base station. So you have a detachable microphone, and this is multi-use because you can use it on your phone, and I'll show you that later on. And as I said, Bluetooth and 2.4 GHz options there. You'll also notice two volume wheels, which I'll talk a bit more about in a minute. But the microphone is a flip to mute microphone, and you've seen me remove the cover for it. Then you just need to pop it into place. It's a little bit fiddly, but there are some clips on either side that you just need to line up on the inside and then plug it in, just pushing it in, and then obviously you can bend it into the right position. Now, it does have side tone as standard, so you can hear yourself through the microphone when you first plug it in, and you can adjust the amount that you can hear yourself as well. So you'll notice on the rear there are two volume wheels, one on the right and one on the left. The one on the right is actually used for adjusting the mic monitoring as standard, so you can adjust the volume of your mic up and down. But you can change that in the software to have other functions to be used for a variety of other things, whether that's game chat balance, the superhuman sound audio changes, and other things. So stick around with me and I'll show you in the Swarm software what you can do with it, because it's pretty powerful and customizable. And as standard, being able to adjust the mic monitoring is kind of pointless. One of the best things about this headset is these ear cushions, because they are very, very comfortable. They are designed in a way that makes them removable, but more importantly, they're also really deep and plush. You'll see that they're very plush material, really soft memory foam cushioning. And the one thing that I was struck by was the difference between these and the previous headset that I tried from Roccat with a similar design. It has a ProSpecs system, which is basically a channeling for your glasses as well. So if you're a spectacle wearer, you'll find it's more comfortable. It also comes with this breathable material and a very soft cushioning on the inside. Now here you can see the previous headset, and it had a lot scratchier ear cushions. The ear cushion material I found was not very nice. It was nice and deep, nice large ear cushions, nice deep ones that surrounded the ear. But what I found was this material was really scratchy and uncomfortable. This is not the case with the Syn Max Air. It has much nicer ones, but you can see from multiple angles this is the old headset for reference, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description. I did like the headset, but the ear cushions kind of ruined it. Now the difference here is very striking. You'll notice your sort of faux leather outer finish, but then a really soft inner that pushes against your head. And that means that you have no scratchiness on your head and also on the ear, but it also blocks out quite a lot of external noise, so you get some good passive noise cancellation. Those drivers are 50mm drivers, and I was shocked by how loud they are. They're very, very loud, to the point that I actually end up running most games and music at around 18 to 20% volume on Windows. So basically volume turned all the way down, because any louder and it's insanely loud. Now, one thing that I will note, however, is that there are some annoyances with this headset. So when it's connected up to your PC, for example, when you first turn it on, there's a very loud beep to let you know that it's come on and that it's powered on, and that's quite painful. And it just keeps on doing things like that with connecting and disconnecting as well. So if you wander away from your room, you'll find that you get this painful sound with the beeps, and that's kind of an annoyance about it I don't really like. But one of the other highlights is that you can connect it up to your phone as well. So there's a button on the right hand ear cup which you can press and hold, and you can put it into Bluetooth pairing mode or turn Bluetooth on and off, and then you can connect up to your phone, and then you can have dual connection options. So this gives you the ability to either make calls with your phone or to listen to music, for example, to listen to Spotify. So while you're gaming, you can have audio from Spotify via your phone into your headphones while also listening to game audio on your PC. You can also place calls, or you could use a chat system on your phone. So you could have a Discord on your phone, for example, and then have it audio channeled in that way. So it gives you a variety of different options there. You'll also see that there are some controls. So you have multimedia controls via that Bluetooth button as well. So as well as turning it on and off, you can press it to pause, you can double tap it to skip, you can triple tap it to rewind, so it will cycle through the various different tracks on Spotify, for example. You can see that here. So you have some basic levels of control on there. Weirdly, obviously, as I said, that volume wheel though doesn't adjust the volume, so either of the volume wheels on the headset don't adjust the Bluetooth volume as standard out of the box. So you have to adjust the volume via your phone itself or the device you've connected to, which is kind of strange. But as I said, you can tweak what those wheels do in the Roccat software, Swarm software, so I'll show you that later. The other thing is you can also use this for Google Assistant. So you can see that you can press that button and you can activate Google Assistant on your phone. So if you have a microphone plugged in, you can then do voice commands via the Google Assistant as well. So what you're seeing already is loads of different features, and obviously the potential to connect it to multiple different devices. So connected up to my Steam Deck, for example, and then you can just get on gaming with it. Now, one thing that I will note here, and it's really obvious now when you're looking at the headset, is you will see there are a lot of fingerprint marks on it. So the outer does pick up a lot of finger oil, which I think is an important point. So you will see some of these shots that it does look a bit dirty already, and it's only really just been out of the box for a little while. I've been using it for a week or so, and I've found it's just got dirty really quickly, which is a shame. However, the sound is fantastic, both over Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz. Now, you will get that lower latency connection with 2.4 wireless rather than Bluetooth. And obviously, if you're using Bluetooth and the wireless, the battery life is going to get chewed through as well. And I think it's worth talking about that because the battery life is kind of a mixed bag, because it basically only has about 16 hours of battery life, which isn't a great deal of battery. You can easily get through that. And obviously, it's going to be less than that if you're using both Bluetooth and wireless at the same time regularly. The convenience of it is obviously you can also dock the headset really easily when you need to for a charge, so it's easy to just drop into that charging station and keep it powered on, so that's nice, and have the convenience to be able to do that when you step away from your PC. So some of the wonderful convenience there. You'll also notice other things that I really like about it is that it's very flexible and bendable, and it has a nice good fit on the head. It's got a really good clamping force, so it's nice and solid, but you have a really good cushioning on the top, so as well as the ear cushions being nice and plush, the top of the headband is really plush. It's extendable, and you have a nice bit of tilt in those ear cushions as well, so you can position them in a way that will fit on your head really nicely. And you can swivel them round, so obviously you can swivel them into the direction you want. If you want to just take it off and rest it on your shoulders, for example, you can do that nice and easily as well. Now, the next point is obviously this charging that I was talking about. And you'll see it has a USB-C connection on it, so you can plug your cable into that. So you'll notice that obviously 2 cables included. You can theoretically just wire it by plugging in the USB-A to USB-C cable. But the charging station is obviously where it's going to be mostly used. On the underside of that, you'll see that there are 2 connections, and this explains the 2 different cables. You'll notice that one's labeled as PC and the other one has a power symbol by it. So essentially you plug in the PC USB-C connection, and then you plug that end in there and then the other end into your computer, and that gives you the 2.4 gigahertz connection, and it also gives you charge. So it takes the power from the USB port, puts it through into the base station, and then you can dock the headset and charge it up that way. So this is the standard connection. You'll see that is how it is, and you'll notice there's some RGB lighting from it, and that lighting also will like flash when it's letting you know that it's connecting to the headset or is attempting to connect to the headset. So you have some indication of what's going on there. But you also get an additional cable included. So there's an extra cable included in the box, which is a power cable. And what this is it allows you to plug this in, and then you can theoretically connect that up to directly to the mains, for example. So you could plug it in, if you have a power plug, a power adapter, you can plug it into the mains, and then that passes power into this. The reason for this is sometimes you might find USB ports don't put out power when your PC's off. So if that's the case, and you know that's the case, what you might find is you turn your computer off, you've docked your headset, you've stepped away, and now it's not charging anymore. But if you plug in both cables, one to the mains and one to your computer, you'll then find power going through into it. Now, one thing that I will note is that I do find it is a bit fiddly to dock. It doesn't seem to dock very easily. It's a faff to get in. The dock design isn't that great. Obviously, you've got the pins on the underside that you can see connect up to the pins that are sticking out. So you've got these contact points on there, so you know which way around it goes. Yeah, as you can see, it's a bit of a fiddle, and it has this slope to it that doesn't fit in very well. I found that I had to mess about trying to get it to sit in there. There is a notification when it is charging, though, so you do know when you're getting it into the right position, because it will say that it is charging. So there's an audible cue to let you know what's happening. Those audible cues have their ups and downs. As I've already mentioned, I find them to be really obnoxious when you turn the headset on. Turn it on, you get a beep to let you know it's connected. It also says how much power you've got left, but it's very loud, and that can be quite painful. Also, if you step too far away from your PC, you get a beep beep to let you know it's disconnected, which again is really loud. So if you walk away from your computer and then you get too far away, you suddenly got a very loud noise in your ear, and then it beep beeps again when it reconnects. So there are some annoyances with some of those notification sounds, and also just the charging. But you can see the charging base station changes color to let you know when it's charging as well. But obviously options to plug it in as well, so you can use those connections. You can see you can use the adapter to turn it into USB-A connection, and then you've got the USB-C connection to plug into the headset. So if you want to go wired for any reason, let's say you haven't managed to dock it properly and it isn't holding charge and you want to carry on using it, then you can just plug it in and connect it up that way. And then obviously you can just carry on, use it as a wired headset. Has some nice RGB lighting that you can see from the side. This is controllable via the Swarm software. Again, I'll show you that in a minute. So this gives you the AMO lighting, which has a very nice sort of subtle underglow to it on the base station, and a very subtle glow on the headset itself. Now the sound is actually very, very nice. It's a really rich sound to it, and I'll show you some of the tweaks that you can make later on, and what you can do with the various different settings, because there are a number of settings in there. But even as standard, as default, out of the box, without even connecting any of the software up, I found that it was remarkably nice sounding, a really good bass, really good response, a good audio range, and good positional audio as well. But the real highlights come with things like the Superhuman Hearing. So this is a setting within Swarm software, which you'll see a sample of now, and I'm going to leave a full clip of this at the end so you can see the difference it makes with Escape from Tarkov, for example. Now, this game focuses a lot on footstep sounds, and you will hear the sort of sounds of enemies approaching. But what the Superhuman sound does is it adjusts that and highlights it even more. If you are playing a competitive shooter like Tarkov or Call of Duty or whatever else, and you focus on those footsteps and you want to hear them a bit more, this Superhuman sort of soundscape allows you to focus on that even more, and on things like gunfire. You can adjust that and get more of it and tweak it to your heart's content in his software. There's also tweaks for other things, like the normalization of sounds and things like that as well. So I'll show you those in a bit more depth in a second, but you can basically customize a lot of the audio. One of the things that I did find though is that some of these sounds actually emphasize sound in the wrong way. So in Tarkov, for example, I found that my own footsteps were suddenly really highlighted, which was a bit too much. One of the first things you should do is download the Roccat Swarm software, because then you can update the firmware. And the other important thing, this is probably one of the most basic settings I would change immediately, is the input settings here on this first tab. You can see that it's set to mic monitoring level as standard. So basically rolling that wheel on the right ear cup will just make you hear yourself louder or quieter. But you can see that you can also adjust other things. For example, you could throw in some extra bass into your game. You could adjust the chat mix. So an important point of note there is this game chat mix balance, because if you go into Windows sound settings, for example, you'll see that under the different audio settings, you have your speakers for the Syn Max Air, but you also have headset chat. So this is for the chat settings, which is customizable within Discord, for example. So you could set chat as an audio output. So that means that when your friends are talking to you, it comes through on that headset chat. If you look here, you can see that there's a channel mix option. So you can actually dial between having more game sounds and more chat sounds. So that basically puts more of the audio from your friends into the audio you're hearing, or less of it. So you could do things like that. You can also boost and change the chat levels, so you can actually make different sound for the audio there as well. And you can also obviously tweak the levels of that on the fly. So now that I've got that setting there, I can roll a wheel and it adjusts those levels on the fly. So if that's something you want to do because your friends are particularly noisy, you can do that. You can also set it to superhuman sound level, so you can turn on the superhuman hearing sounds for the footstep boost, and you can roll that up and down as well via the controls there. So that enables you to do that, and that can be useful if you're in a particular situation where you feel like you need to be able to hear quickly. Unfortunately, obviously, once you've set this, you can't change it again without coming into the software. There's no button to, for example, switch between these. That would be really nice if you could change, because you might want to be able to turn your friends down quickly and then switch the superhuman hearing volume up so that you could hear footsteps if you think enemies are approaching. But at least you have the option to customize these things, although it is a real shame, I think personally, that you don't have a volume for your Bluetooth on there, so you can't do that. Now, I've shown some of what you can do with the superhuman hearing. You've seen some of it in a clip, and I'll leave a proper example of this at the end just to show you the difference it makes to the audio. But you can see that you get a footsteps boost option, which is meant to boost the footsteps of the enemy, but also, as you saw, boosts your own in Tarkov, which is less than ideal. But you can choose to gunshot mode or legacy mode as well. And I recommend playing around with these settings and see what works with you, because you also have this spatializer down the bottom on the additional settings, and you can see that you can go into the 3D sound and you can choose to change between games, music and movies as well. So you have a variety of options there. Obviously you can control extra things in here as well, so you could turn on a game boost for bass, treble or dialogue, so you can enhance any of those and you can turn that on and off. You can also go into here and you can see that you've got the waves audio options in here as well, so you can got your own equalizer and you can choose for an FPS option or various different ones: dynamic, explosions, balanced, and other modes, RPG, for example. Lots of different choices in there. So loads of different customization that you can do to the audio. Now, as I said, it's really rich sounding as standard, I think. It's got a good audio range and a good bass to it. As default, if you play around with these settings, you can obviously tweak things. The next thing is you'll notice that the mic settings are on here. So I've got the mic monitoring turned up quite high so I can hear myself in the headset. And if you turn it off, you can barely hear yourself at all, which is an interesting point because the ear cups have that leather cushioning on the outside, which basically gives you some passive noise cancellation. You can adjust this and change it, so if you want to hear more of yourself, you can, or less. Some people don't like to hear themselves, that's fine. But I don't want to end up shouting, so I actually like to have mine on. And then you have noise gate. So obviously this is off as default, so I've had it off the whole time. If I turn it up, you'll hear the difference that makes. And when it cuts off, this is going to be useful if you want to get rid of background audio, whether it's fan noise or other things. But I actually feel like it's not really picking up that much noise. It is quite compressed, as you've heard. If you've watched any of my normal videos, you'll notice the difference between this and dedicated microphones. So it's certainly not as good quality as an external mic. Now, illumination settings, I've shown already that you have some of that on the base station and the side of the ear cup. One of the other things that's interesting that I didn't show and is worth noting is that you can see a difference in the RGB lighting here. So the base flashes white when it's connecting to the headset, but the base also changes to red. So it goes to a red RGB no matter what mode you've got it on to let you know when the mic's muted. So if you flip your mic up and it's in mute mode, the base station also turns red. It's little highlights like that that make this pretty interesting. Also, you can change into the AIMO intelligent lighting mode. You've got fully lit and a variety of other different RGB settings on here. I really like AIMO from Roccat's intelligent lighting set up there. It gives you a nice sort of RGB lighting and it gives a nice glow to the desk. I'm not going to focus too much on this because I think RGB lighting on a headset's kind of pointless personally. I like it on the base station, but you can't see the ear cups most of the time, so what's the point? But it has got this transparent honeycomb design, which lets some RGB bleed through. So hopefully you found this video useful, interesting, and hopefully engaging. There's been a lot of different things to talk about. There's a lot of different aspects to this headset that I really like, in both in terms of the audio and the comfort. It's really comfortable to wear for a long time. It blocks out a lot of external noise. The ear cups are really nicely designed, nice and deep, and the audio is great. The mic lacks a little bit, the base station's a little bit frustrating, but overall it's a fantastic option. Unfortunately, lack of 3.5mm and stupid things, little things like the inability to control Bluetooth audio are a bit of an annoyance, but otherwise, all round a great headset. Stick around now to hear another bit of a sample without me talking of the sound difference that the Superhuman and additional settings make to the game audio in Tarkov. And subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.
Вон он, сука! Чё, забыл, кто тебе батон в будку закидывает?
This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.